everyone. My name is Omoyemi Akinwande, and on today's episode of Open Mic Untold Stories, I have my friend and colleague as well. I'll let him introduce himself.
My name is Kende Dulaja. Thank you for joining us this evening on Open Mic. This is a feedback to our previous conversation, that is Sibling Rivalry.
Yes, we are going to be wrapping up that topic this time, Sibling Rivalry. For everyone who commented, watched, shared, liked the previous episode, we want to say a big thank you. We took all those responses, your feedbacks, and just kind of sat down over a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Not that they paid that anyway. Yeah, we drank Starbucks, but yeah, and we incorporated those feedbacks and kind of created some questions that we will go over in this topic. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this session, this episode with us. Thank you.
Part of the feedback that we got was that we should not limit sibling rivalry to polygamous family only. It's cut across all kinds of family, be it nuclear, be it polygamous family, and the rest of them. So today I will allow my colleague here, Omoyemi, to take the lead in this conversation, and then she's going to set the tone as to what exactly and the areas that we're going to touch. So, over to you.
Yes, but before a few of these questions, one of the things from the comments that really got my attention was, and we dealt with it extensively on that on the previous chapter about the role of parenting, or how parents contribute to siblings rivalry. So from that, I still want us to touch light, Kende, what role does parental illness, now siblings are of age, and they have to look out for their own parents now, due to ill health, old age, and everything. What role does parental illness, or how does parental illness or aging play a role in reigniting old rivalries?
So, to the best of my knowledge, you see, parenting is key in any family. And it is the parents, comprising of the father and the mother, that set the tone and that determine what tomorrow will be like in their family. Now, the seed you sow today determines what you are going to reap tomorrow. So it is important for parents to play safe, seek knowledge, seek for help when they needed one, as to how to train their children. Now, a child that you did not train and give that kind of homegrown training to will definitely not look after you at your old age. So it is important that parents determine what they want to be like tomorrow as to how they train their children. That is the result, that they are going to be getting. Now, for a parent who, as a result of old age, falls sick, you must have been teaching your children compassion while they are young. You must have been teaching them care when they are young, particularly amongst themselves. That is what is going to give back to the outcome they will give you back when you are old. So yes, everything comes to the doorstep of the parents. What are you giving your children? Do you focus on training them as to the core values that they need in life, or you are busy giving them everything you want, everything they want? That is not bad in the real sense anyways, So again, the parents set the tones as to what their future will look like.
Yes, thank you for that perspective. Parent becoming of age reignites rivalry force in siblings, because I think there's more responsibility on the part of the children, and at this point the sex you are also becomes a factor. Like if you're a male, and we all know that female children, quote and unquote, from statistics and all, they tend to take care of their parents more, than a male child who now has a different wife, not birthed by his mom, and of course they have their own family and children. So it's difficult for a male child, it can be difficult. Let me put it that way. For a male child to take care of their aged parents, and that can trigger or cause an issue for other female children who might have been taking on the responsibility of catering for their parents, especially if they are two, their dad, their mom together at the same time. So that can reignite some sort of conflict if the male children marry some women who are not open to accepting or taking care of any aged family member, depending on the family they are also from. Again, that's another factor. Remember the many trees and the filial generations. So if a male child marries to such a cultural background that is diverse, to accepting parents into a home, it becomes difficult, leaving the burden of caring for that aged parents to only the female children, if they have one. Now, if they don't have a female child, what's left of such a couple, or of such an aged woman or man. They either get thrown in the care home and things like that. So I think aged parent becoming of age truly contributes to sibling rivalry, right?
So I think I take a slightly opinion on that. Either a male child or a female child, if you are kind, you are kind, irrespective of who the child is. And it is important that out of everything we teach our children, teach them kindness. Let them understand that the responsibility of taking care of you lies solely on them, just as you have done for them whilst they cannot take care of themselves. Look, it is important that we know that everywhere we go with our culture. And there's no culture that doesn't teach us compassion, kindness. I don't want to believe so. So whether you're a male child or a female child, the responsibility of taking care of your parents lies solely on you. And of course, you seek help when you need one. I, for instance, I cannot look at my parents falling sick and a wife somewhere will not make me take care of my parents.
Hang on right there. You said a wife. There are stories, there are facts, there are like real life stories of wives who outrightly say no to such requests from their husbands. What do you do at that point?
Do not allow your wife or your husband, depending on where it falls to, stop you from taking care of your parents. I think that's it. You see, at some point, we don't need to mince words. We just have to say it straight the way it is. Do not allow your spouse stop you from taking care of your
what
parents.
If a spouse tells you that you bring in your mom, I'm out. You bring in your dad, I'm out. Like my marriage to you is over.
So these are things we don't discuss. Communication is key, and above communication is comprehension. When we communicate, do we understand ourselves, or we are just talking on each other's voices? So for me, before you go into that business or that contraption or that marriage in its real sense, do we discuss all this,
And what if you discuss before marriage and my mother-in-law, I'm going to be cool with her, this, and then after marriage, years down the line, or even say, for example, such a mother-in-law, father-in-law comes into that home and, causes trouble. And from then on, the wife says, she can't come. So she was true to her words of saying, you can come, or families can come, extended family and all that. But depending on their reaction or the experiences that they have, and they put a stop to it, how do you handle or manage such situation?
So you have created a scenario.
Sure.
That is, there is
conflict.
A gap somewhere, there's
Yes.
a conflict somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, there's need for such parents to retreat, to go back to wherever they are coming from. Because at the end of the day, your immediate family is key. That is, your husband or your wife is important to you than any parent anyway. However, what I'm saying is that your spouse at the same time should not beforehand stop you from taking care of your parents. Now, in some instances, couples could have an agreement that our parents are not going to visit us. however good or bad that might be, it is a couple's agreement. And if it's an agreement, it's an agreement. Let's stay put to it. But taking care of your parents also transcends them visiting. Taking care of them doesn't mean they must visit you. Of course, you must stretch forth your hands of kindness, fellowship, provision, and the rest of them to your family. So
I like that part, that they don't necessarily have to be in the same space with you to extend love. The boundaries, some boundaries are important. And you're actually referring or talking about this topic I was going to ask next, or something for us to deliberate. That when is cutting off a sibling the right choice? When is cutting off a sibling the right choice? And how do you know when to cut off such a sibling?
So I was having a conversation with a friend this evening before this podcast, and we had this conversation around when to cut off a sibling. And she said straight away, in her home palace, when they want to take away my life, I have to cut down. That is a general word. I mean, what exactly would a sibling do to you that you want to cut them off? Personal opinion, I think family is family. I don't believe in cutting off siblings. I don't believe in it. Yes, we can have disagreements. We can have, scuffles here and there. But I believe at the end of the day, we must find a common ground to resolve our issues. That is why we are family.
I have a question. What do you mean by you can't cut off sibling? Like, okay, let me give you this scenario: a nuclear family, or even extended family, whichever one applies. And these siblings, as a result of one conflict or mismanagement of property, family property and wealth, or inappropriate proportioning of the family's wealth, and there's a lot of conflict between them, and the conflict grew up to the extent of physical abuse, up to the extent of diabolical abuse. I know in this part of the Western world we don't believe in anything spiritualism, right? We don't believe in things like that. But if you're from West Africa, where I'm from, where he's from, you would agree with me. Some part, even some personal experience, or even non-personal, whatever experience we read on social media, we hear from the news, different kind of events that siblings are killing siblings because of family's wealth, like their family's wealth. Like the firstborn got this amount, the last child got X amount, and it wasn't proportional to maybe their age or their position in the family. Like, it is customary that the first child should receive maybe 50%, and the last child should receive maybe 10%, and this last child is quote unquote an outspoken, outgoing, everything you can think of, very versatile, have friends that are rough, and demands things by force. And his peers are telling him that what you're equal, this should be, we should have, you guys have equal rights and things like that. And life is at stake. So what do you mean by siblings should not cut off siblings? If life is at stake, how do you manage that?
Unfortunately, we live in an environment where we don't have, our parents don't make adequate provisions for life after death, especially as to those that will inherit whatever they have behind. So it is at the discretion of the family, and in most cases, the eldest of the children, to determine the sharing formula.
And even some that have this advanced will, they debate the will after the demise of their parents, because they still feel that their owner of the property did not share it correctly.
This takes us back to the value the parents are impute in the children. Value, are your children value driven, or they are just after your properties? So it is important that, and this is going to take us back to the parenting, that have you given your children enough value such that they see They don't see property as those things that define family or those things that define who they are. At the end of the day, like we say on the street, everybody go there, alright. Family is family. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think there's anything my brother, my sisters will do to me that will make me cut them off from my life entirely. Yes, we could give ourselves space. Yes, we may not be as close as, but when you say cut off, then it means we no longer have that bond that binds us together and as a family. I don't think there should be anything that will take us to that level. And should there be something like that, it is important that it comes from you as a person now. It is important that you now put your cards on the table and look at what is important to you mostly in life. Those things that separate you or those things that brings you together as a people.
Yes, I'm also of the opinion that we shouldn't, like, cutting off the bond that ties us together is extreme, can be too much. When you return back to the basis of living, the definition of living, of family, of blood ties, cutting should be the last thing, like estranging yourself.
So let me interrupt you.
Okay.
Cutting should not be the last thing. Cutting should not even exist at all.
Okay, I will say, careful how you put that. I'm not, that's your, like, I'll carefully use that word to say it should not exist. Because I know of differential stories that cutting might be safe, that might give you 10, 11, 20 more years to live if you cut, compared to when you don't set boundaries, when you don't cutting is, maybe it's too extreme. You should set boundaries. You should respect boundaries, even though you're siblings. You should not go outside of those boundaries. You should try to put those boundaries in place to protect yourself, because rivalry is not boundary setting. It's not equal to boundary setting. They are two different things. So you can put boundaries in place to protect yourself, but of course the blood ties still exist. And that even leads me to the topic of how should long-standing existing rivalry be dismissed? How should siblings walk through long ago, since beginning of time, rivalries between themselves, such that family bond is sweet? If you are fortunate to come from a place, yes, it's so sweet. There's companionship, there is friendship, there is sharing, it's so sweet. I'm telling you, it's not like I have the best of the best for me, but the little one I have, I can tell you that it's sweet. Go ahead.
Those things that elongate seed of discord in family, those things that lingers for too long, check them very well. They don't really exist. They don't really exist. By the time you grow out of it and then you look back, you look at yourself and you'll be like, what exactly are we fighting for at the end of the day? What exactly is the reason for our rivalry? Should there be one in the first instance? So it is just that at the time at which the heat is on, you cannot see beyond your nose to know that those things don't really exist. There's really nothing, because at the end of it all, this is your brother, this is your sister. And if everybody understands that, look, we are not the same, you are gifted in your own calling, I'm gifted in my own calling as well, we can coexist, we can enjoy our diversity, and there is strength in diversity, there's strength in different opinions that we have. Look, when you get to a certain level in life, you realize that those things, that very thing that we think is causing trouble, does not really exist. And that's why you realize that when people grow older and they look back and you ask them what exactly is going on here, they can't tell in specific terms what the problem is. They don't exist.
I hear you. I have a different, perspective though. I still know of 60-year-old man, 70-year-old man that are still, not on talking terms with their siblings. They are estranged due to many factors, properties, income, like different reasons. I can tell you that they're still not talking. 60-year-old, 70, 80-year-old, like they are still estranged till date. So don't tell me that. No, are they not old enough to look back and say it doesn't exist?
If I say hold, yeah, it might not be in terms of numbers. It might not be in terms of age.
Okay.
It might be in terms of advancement in life, maturity, and a whole lot of other things combined together. And of course, numbers also depends too. So for me, and my advice for everybody is that those things that separate us are not as strong as those things that binds us together. But the more we give them credence, the more we how do I put it now? The more we make them look as if magnify them, the more we make them look like they are bigger than those things that really. So those things that separate us are not as important as those things that bind us together. And that was why I said at the end of it all,
parents
don't really exist. And of course, parenting. Yeah, because you are a product of a people, you are a product of a family that has a culture, a way of doing things, and if that culture of togetherness, kindness, respect, love is not entrenched in the children, of course, we'll see the result, and that's why we have a lot of chaos in the society today.
I totally agree, and I think siblings with a estranged relationship or that have estranged relationship can actually still come together no matter what. No matter they can still come together. They have to first of all take the decision that they don't want to pass on the rivalry, and that's a topic I even want us to talk about, the passing on. But hold on. So they themselves, the siblings themselves, would have to agree. They should take accountability. They should, acknowledge. No, they should acknowledge, then take accountability of what these issues are. You can't sweep conflicts, rivalry. You can't sweep them under the rug and like time will heal the wound. No, you name them, discuss them. If there is room for conversation, if there is room for communication, invite them. It doesn't have to be your home or their home. If it's not that safe, hang out. Once they will build a routine, and that's one thing that can build a routine around your family members that can support communication, that can support the exchange of love. Build a routine, acknowledge what the issue is, take accountability, and deliberately change the pattern, of what is causing the issue. Say, for example, property. I don't know why I'm still talking about this property. But anyways, let me talk about property. So your siblings or your family left a $10 million worth of properties, and you either they left an advance directive or not.
$10 million.
$10 million.
That's a lot of money.
That's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Yeah. So they left an advance directive or not. As an eldest sibling or oldest sibling or the youngest, I think calling your siblings or having a family conversation and being open, and everything still boils down to the relationship, the parenting, how it all started. So if you have built the environment of openness, of clear communication, of love, like you said, of kindness, I think such a family will be able to walk through not having an advance directive in such a situation and say, okay, as the firstborn, even though the culture says I'm entitled to 50%, I am willing to take 40%. The rest of the sibling, you can take 10, or even 20, and you just put it in such a way that there will be no fighting, there will be no conflict.
In some cases, it might be difficult or in a case where it is difficult for the eldest to use discretion. sometimes
that's the word.
It is also about the culture. Now let me tell you about my personal experience. Of course, I live in my mom.
So we agree now that culture plays a role in siblings rivalry.
Culture of your in-house culture now, not the general public now.
Okay.
Where you grew up, your family culture.
Okay.
I grew up with my mom, and the way she shared things between myself and my sibling is the eldest take the largest chunk of it, and that's the culture. And now, up till now, if we have anything that needs to be shared, I expect my elder brother to take the largest chunk of it. And if there's a responsibility that we need to also give, like we want to help a family member, myself, my twin, we give a certain amount of money, and I also expect my other brother to give, and of course he has been doing that. So it is the culture that we grow up to know. That is what is imbibed in us, and up till now, that is what we do. So it also goes back to how were you trained growing up? What exactly is that thing that is embedded in you? A way of life. You know, some family do 50-50-50
equal share, because that can cause rivalry.
There's no right or wrong answer. Personally, that's a personal opinion.
So culture plays a role.
Yeah, exactly. It does. Yeah, and a culture of neglect, a culture of insensitivity also raises its ugly head if that is what you grew up with in the family. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on, or probably take the last one. How does sibling conflict ripple through the next generation?
So I think you mentioned it the other time. Talk about it. Don't allow time to heal. Time will not heal if you don't talk about it. Your communication. And like I always tell people, above communication, comprehension. When you talk about some things, remember to ask about understanding. I think it was one of the Stephen Covey's books, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, where he talks about comprehension. And I always, tell people a lot that sometimes we talk, but we don't understand ourselves. We only talk because we want to talk. And the other person wants to respond because it felt like you have said something and you're not going to have the last say. So I think communication is key. Comprehension is important. Make sure you have a no holds barred conversation. There should not be gray areas that we cannot talk about. We must talk about everything, and we must have a reference point. A reference point in this case is your parents. Is that how daddy taught us? Is that how mommy taught us? That is key, because if you don't have a reference point, it's going to be like I want my opinion to overshadow yours and yours to overshadow mine, and in most cases nobody likes that. So for me, communication, comprehension, no holds barred conversation, having a reference point that we can reference to say, daddy said this when he was alive. And if daddy was here, do you think he would be happy? And in Christendom, we do that a lot too. WWJD, what would Jesus do? Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I like your angle. It's very awesome. But
yeah, we must talk about everything.
Let's look at this angle. So this family, of course, the father, the mother, the kids, right? So the father grew up with 4 other brothers, like, so there are five men in the family. So due to one conflict, over the time, kind of rivalry, right, he stopped communicating. This man, has 4 other siblings, and due to one conflict or the other, he became estranged with his brothers, and he grew up also with his kids, and his kids started asking him, Dad, where is uncle? Where is auntie? Where are your siblings? And you hear responses like, oh, yes, these are my brothers. Is the one right after me is so name, that name. He lives in Texas. He lives in Oklahoma. He lives but I don't talk to them. So because I don't talk to them, you can't talk to them. And guess what? These other 4 brothers, they have 10 kids each, or 2 or 3 or 4. And because I don't talk to them and he doesn't talk to me, you can't talk to them, so they can't talk to you, you can't talk to their kids can't talk to you. There are families like that. Let's not shy away from it.
So that is like an inherited aggression.
Oh yes, that's what we're talking about. How do you resolve such a thing?
You cannot be my friend's enemy, and you cannot be my enemy's friend. Now, what again I think is the solution is this: we must talk about everything, and you must make conscious efforts that the calamity, so to speak, that befell me will not fall into my children. And I'm talking seriously and emotionally here, that we must strive as a people to end anything that raises its ugly head in our family. It must end at a particular point. It must not be transferred to another generation. You see, I made sure my children talk to my brother's children. I made sure they have each other's phone number, even though they rarely call. But I made sure I showed them pictures. This is your cousin. This is your cousin. Your cousin lives XYZ. And for somebody like me, who comes from a polygamous house, I made them understand that, look, this one is my mommy's brother's son. This one is this one. So, because children will ask questions. For instance, they ask, why am I this name? Why is he that name? And you guys said you are brothers. You know, I need to explain. So, I think we should not shy away from talking. Let's keep talking. Let's keep saying the right things to our children, and don't let us transfer aggression. Don't let us tell them those things that causes rift between us and our siblings. Don't let us send it to the next generation. Let's make this world a better place. And it starts from our family. And I think that's where I stand. I believe anything that happens to us, there must be an end to an ugly situation. And it starts from us. If we have a conscious effort to making sure that it ends with us, we must be intentional, we must be deliberate, and we must make sure we fight it, because those things don't define the true value or the core value of what a family should be.
I totally agree with you. And on that note, I'll say we're wrapping up this episode again. It's an important topic. It's very relevant, and I want to agree with you that the success of any community, a country, a town, whatever strata, right, is the family, is the successfulness that the family experiences that gets extended to the community, the town, the country, the nation, and all of that. So it's important that the immediate environment, the community, the unit of the society is adequately protected. That word is heavy for me based on personal experiences, but the thing is, protect the peace, the joy, the unity, serenity. The peace, the serenity of your home. It's very important. And don't pass on rivalry. Don't pass on evil thoughts. Don't pass on statements that your children can don't pass on such statements of don't talk to this one, don't talk to that one. You will see many parents today saying, don't ever talk to my sister's this one, she did this, she did that, either with fact or with no fact. When you say such statements and you leave the world tomorrow, those kids will hang on to that, they will hold on to that, and before you know it, they will also pass on that. I used to have one aunt, my mom's brothers, sisters living in, that's all they know. They don't even know what they look like anymore as a result of generation, being born and, all that. So I think we can make the world a better place. I know we can make the world a better place. Factors will fight us. Stay true to what you know. Stay true to what is best, which is peace, love, and unity. Thank you.
So on this edition of Open Mic, the conclusion is we might not be able to provide answers to all of your questions, but what we can say of a truth is that most of the responsibility lies on us as parents to make sure that we do not transfer aggressions to our children. Rivalry must stop. It does not make any sense. We grow up to realize we weren't fighting for anything initially, but that would have distorted a whole lot of family reunion that we could have, a family time we could have, family fun, and the rest of them. Family is key, family is everything, and family is all you have. Everybody will go at some point. Those friends that you have will go at some point. You will be left with your family. Thank you. See you next time.